Hey everybody, time for our first getting ready for garden season video. I just wanted to give you kind of an update. I know I kind of left you hanging over the winter. So this is where we had the big garden this past year. You can see I've taken down the electric fence. There's the post sitting there. I've taken down the electric fence, pulled up all of the irrigation. It's just hanging out. That's where it's been all winter, and it seems fine. My dad has disked this twice now, but as you can see how shaded it is. So all this over here from these pine trees right here, we're getting really too much shade. So what's happening is on this end of the garden, where I currently am, it's getting nice and dry and workable, right? Probably a little too dry in places. But when you get down here, where it stays in the shade, it's very muddy and sloppy. You can see how sticky and nasty that is. So you can't run a tractor through it very well without getting stuck and just making big clods and everything. So this, we're just kind of letting it dry out and see if it will get better in time for us to need to start planting. Now, today is March. Oh, good question. 5th? I believe it's the 5th. So we have about a month and 10 days until our last frost date. I expect that to be much earlier this year. I expect that to be closer. Honestly and truly, I kind of think it's going to be around St. Patrick's Day, and I think we'll have a nice warm spring after that. That's what the almanac's calling for. That's kind of what the signs have been showing. But that's what I'm kind of planning for. But anyways, so gotten this all situated, but now we're wondering if this patch over on this side would be better to get started for this earlier season. So this side over here would be quite a bit bigger of a garden. We did not plant anything over here this past year except for it basically was just some fescue and some weeds. So this basically is just pre-mulched already. If you can see, no bare dirt. Everything's nice and covered. It's also drier because it's in full sun. There's no shade here. So, trying to decide what to do about this. I think what's going to happen, if I can find someone, so we don't have a tiller that we can pull behind our tractors. None of our tractors, well, one is big enough, but the others are not. So we don't have anything that we can use to pull a tiller. Last year we did a lot of tilling by hand, basically walking behind a tiller, and that's just not feasible with this big of a garden. So I'm gonna see if I can find someone in the area to come and get this tilled for us. It'd make a much better seed bed and just do better at getting rid of these seeds, since this is basically a new garden. It hasn't been used in an actual row garden capacity in several years. So if we didn't till it, it's just we don't have the access to the compost and the mulch that would be needed to be able to do it no-till. Hopefully one day, but not yet. But you can see things are starting to green. There's some green coming out. Weeds, grass, whatever you want to call them. But that's where we are with the garden. I'm not planning on planting anything except probably potatoes before frost. I'm not going to mess with spring peas. I don't have as good a luck as I do with fall peas. And I think this spring is going to be too warm for them. I don't think you're going to have a good crop in this area. So, another nice thing, we do have our first daffodils blooming. And if you know anything about following nature signs, you know that that means your ground is now 40 to 45 degrees, and you can plant your peas, a couple other things. I'll make sure to put them in the comments. But I was coming over here to work on this trellising. I don't know if you remember or not, but a deer, I believe it was a deer, went through my string trellising. It was just string here, which was a mistake on my part, and broke the string. And so my raspberries and my grapes are no longer supported. So I think what I'm going to do, because I have to retrellis them anyways, I think I'm going to move them over to the orchard section instead. I don't really like them being right here. I would rather them be over there. But if you'll notice, and I'd rather them get out of all these daffodils. So you see all that green, there's just loads and loads and loads of daffodils. So these daffodils have been here my entire life, and I'm certain much longer than that. I remember as a child coming out here this time of year and picking them for my grandmother, who didn't live here at that time. She lived in another town over. But when we would go to visit her, we would stop here and pick flowers for her and take them to her every time. And her birthday would be this coming Monday. She would be 101 if she were still alive. Sadly, we lost her about almost 12 years ago now. So they always remind me of her, and I love seeing them. First signs of spring for sure. But anyways, I've rambled on enough. I wanted to show you. So if you'll remember, these are the wild black raspberries that I planted last year. And if you look closely, you can see where they are starting to come out. See those buds starting to get active? And there's actually one over here that had some green on it. So let's see if it'll show it to you. See the little green leaves starting? So they're coming out, they're doing well. But some of them didn't live, but some of them I planted such little spindly ones that's okay. I will go down and show you the wild black raspberry patch that I found here the other day that I had no idea we had. And so I think I'll be transplanting a bunch of those because they look wonderful. If you look at the grapes, you can see little buds on them where they're starting to come out as well. They also need to be trellised well, and I believe they're going to receive too much shade here. So see those little buds starting to come out? So we'll get them moved, get them taken care of. The fig down here, I think same thing, getting too much shade. I don't see any signs of this fig coming back to life just yet. Hopefully it will, but I don't see any strong signs just yet. So I'm gonna go over to the orchard, and my mission today is to get a lot of things pruned. I don't know that I'll get to moving these raspberries today, but we'll see how far we get. I wanted to show you these black raspberries. These are the wild ones down here on the edge of the yard. Sorry, it's quite muddy right here. That was an interesting creature that just went through the woods. Oh, it's a squirrel. Anyway, so see this purpley blue? That's a classic sign of a black raspberry. And plus it's also circular. So if you look at it, see how round that cane is. And of course full of thorns, but see it's starting to come out as well. So I want to take probably 6 or 8 right here in this patch. But if you'll notice, they're mixed in with blackberries. So this is your blackberry cane mixed in there. So those are green, and they also are typically kind of square shaped. I don't know that you can tell, and I don't want to touch them because I don't have any gloves on, but they're more square shaped and they're green. So you can see how green that is in comparison to that purpley blue right there beside it. So nobody knew these were here. I just happened to stumble across them, and I'm super excited that I did because I think I'm liking the black raspberries better than the blackberries. But if we get a good crop this year of both, I'll be able to tell you give you a true side-by-side comparison and see which one we prefer. Alright, so we're going to get started with doing some pruning on these trees. So I know I have, these are apples. This is also an apple. The one behind it, nope, the one over here is a damson plum. These are our blueberries, more blueberries down the way. And these haven't been pruned, probably since they were planted. And that's been maybe 10 years ago now. So we finally, this past summer was the first time we got an apple, and we got it off of this tree right here, and it only had one apple, and I watched it all season and nothing ever messed with it. So finally I decided I was going to pick it, and my dad and I ate it, and it was wonderful. But want to do some pruning, see if we can get that better. You can see here the blueberries are coming out. They're looking great, but there is some dead in there that I want to make sure I get out. You can see some dead branches in there. Want to get them out, kind of open this up a little bit more. I'll probably start with them, but I wanted to show you kind of the resource that I like to use for this. Of course, there's tons of videos you can watch, lots of different people. This is my favorite gardening book. I actually got it at a yard sale many years ago, but it goes through and it shows you detailed how to prune these different things. And I like having a picture. I think that makes it a lot easier. And of course they go through all sorts of different things. I'm going to start with the apples, so that's what I'm looking for. But I just wanted to share that resource in case it's something that you're looking for as well. So I'm going to start here in these blueberries. And I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see, but hopefully you can see something. So there's kind of some random ones just growing every which direction. Getting those off. Anything that's dead. Anything that looks like it might have some disease issues. All of those will cause problems down the line. We try really hard not to spray anything. So these don't have any sort of chemicals on them. They're really organic by our standards. See some cross in there. And I'm just using these basic little pruners. Nothing fancy. Just trying to clean these up so the fruit has more room to grow, less interference, the sun can get to things better. These need to be pruned quite a bit more, but I think, sorry about the wind, this is probably all we're going to get this year. Quite windy, so I apologize if the sound isn't great. Don't have a mic on me today. This was kind of a spur of the moment decision. And I'm just dropping these on the ground. I'm not seeing any signs of disease or pests. If I was seeing any signs of those, I would make sure that I collected these and got rid of them, but I'm not seeing any of that, so they're safe for me to just drop on the ground. And I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but if you listen really closely and maybe turn your sound up, you might hear the spring peepers down in the hollow. So spring peepers are your first sign of spring frogs, and they are very loud this time of year, waking up from their hibernation and slumber. You also may have heard that mourning dove in the background, or that one right there. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Hopefully you can. The sounds of spring are very different than the sounds of summer. Sometimes you'll even hear an owl down in the bottom. We have a creek on this property and are pretty close to a river, so we get all kinds of more aquatic-like species. This bush is a little behind the other one. They're a different variety. I don't know which variety either of them is, but this one was slower to give us berries this past summer, and now it seems like it's slower to bud out as well. I don't know if you can propagate blueberries from these cuttings. If you know, and you know how, please let us know, because I'd love to be doing that instead of wasting them, if there's a way. Some spiders. Quite a bit of dead in these when you really get in there and start looking. And then things that are crossing each other that would rub and potentially cause issues. I'm trying to get rid of those as well. And then some of them are more of water sprouts rather than fruiting branches. I don't know. Let's see if I can show you. There's one right here. I might can show you. Let's see. Let me take you off. So if you come over, see how these are kind of a rusty brown, orangey color. See that there? Those are going to be the ones that are more likely to actually produce your blueberries. And then you'll see ones like this. See how green this is? And how it has very little bud on it. This is more of a water sprout. So this is something where, because this tree wasn't pruned properly, and here's another one, there's some branches on here that basically what happened is the plant decided that it needed to expand more and actually grow more plant and less fruit. And so it started putting out these water sprouts, and you'll see them on lots of different things. They'll have the same issue, and a lot of it comes from pruning incorrectly or not pruning at the right time. And sometimes, and look, there's two right here, but sometimes it's just weird weather can make it happen. So I'm going to get rid of those, but these plants are looking much better. If you'll notice, so you can kind of tell the difference between these two plants. So if you look at this one, you can see, if it'll focus, you can see all of those buds and how big and beautiful they are. And then if you come over to this one, look how tiny these are. So they're just starting to get together. So definitely two different varieties here. If you'll remember, these are duck deterrents, or I guess goose deterrents, from our neighbors' geese that like to come over and be pests. But these are looking much better. I'm going to finish up getting those water sprouts out, and then we'll start tackling these apple trees. So I worked on this apple tree, trimmed it up quite a bit, and I've got a nice pile here just from this one tree. It doesn't look like I changed a whole lot in the before and after pictures, and it's also hard to tell because there's trees behind here. But the biggest thing I did is just bring down the height. This tree had gotten really, really tall, and I actually could do a little bit more, but I can't reach, so I'm going to have to get the ladder out and finish that off. But the biggest thing was bringing everything down so that it's manageable and I can actually reach the fruit and don't have to climb up on a ladder every single time to try and do anything. So that's where that one is. I'm gonna get to working on the rest of these. I did want to show you. So these apple trees are just starting to bud. If you can see that bud there. It'll be quite a while yet before they actually bloom, but if you look over here, this is the damson plum, and if you can see, it's already coming out. So definitely something that's more susceptible to frost and something that's taken a gamble with this spring weather. And I believe this one, nope, these two right here are the pears. So you can tell they've been allowed to stay way too tight and get way too tall. And so they're definitely going to have to be shortened as well. So that's going to be my next little mission. Okay, so there we are for today. Looking better. You can see these back here, these pears are still way too tall, but I've got to get a ladder so that I can take care of those safely. But all these apples, brought them back down to a reasonable level, got all the dead out of the blueberries, and hopefully, if all goes well, we'll have a good crop.